This meeting is being recorded.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Louise van Rijn. I'm a passionate South Africa and involved in a organization or a group of people that we call ourselves African Leadership Community. And we have plans to mobilize leadership across Africa and specifically South Africa. And while getting ourselves organized to arrange our first face-to-face gathering, we realized that we first needed to get to know each other. And we started to use language like we wanted to become enchanted with each other. And so we've arranged these, a series of conversations where people can get to know the other people in the community. And for those of you who received an invitation, we've titled this series a series of introductions to inspirational organizations, South African organizations, and the people who lead them. And we have had a number of very enchanting experiences so far. We had a session with the National Mentorship Movement and with the Outer team and with the Rivonia Circle team with Songezi Zibi and his team. We had a session with 50 Plus Skills last week. And today we have a session with a very inspirational organization. It's an organization that I do want to say to you, if you're not inspired by what you're going to hear today, then you have to check your pulse. But we'll let you do that all by yourself. We're not going to do that for you. We're going to just let you pay attention to what happens in your body when you get to know this group of people. And I'm going to be in the background. I'll do whatever Judy Ann or Sonia need me to do. But I'm going to hand over to Judy Ann, who I think is going to be our leader in this. She's going to lead the conversation. And Judy Ann and Sonia and the team will introduce you to the people who are known as MathMoms. And I'm going to not say anything more other than be prepared to be inspired and enchanted. So Judy Ann, over to you.
Thank you, Louise. I am going to share my screen and then Sonia will take the lead. So Sonia, you can...
I think I'm going to start, and I'm going to ask you to sit back and think back on a time in your life that you felt valued. How did you feel? And how did that change your perception of yourself? And what did that feeling of being valued enabled? And that's what we do at MathMoms. Making people feel valued lies at the heart of what we do. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to share our story. Thank you for your time. We know that time is so precious. We really appreciate it. And it's a sunny Tuesday in Cape Town, and a group of unemployed women and youth gather in Elsie's River for training and edification. The training includes creating a circle of trust and where they can share about their lives and challenges with one another. Their stories are often from broken homes, ravaged by gangsterism, a system that is failing on all levels, and the slow violence of poverty. But these community members have found the strength to seek healing, first for themselves and now also for their community. Before even considering maths and teaching strategies, every person who joins the MathMoms program finds a safe space in which to deal with their own trauma. Trauma that causes a feeling of loss and disconnection, not only to themselves, but also to the world around them. The self-worth and the confidence they gain through this, together with a supportive group of like-minded individuals to hold them up, empower these women and youth to do the same for the children in their communities. If you read about the communities we work in the news, you will most likely come across stories related to gangsterism, to the extreme violence people face on a daily basis. Elsie's River and surrounding communities carry a heavy load of various types of violence on its shoulders. We do not want to deny these realities, but we feel it is important to show that our communities also have a different story to tell. A story of incredible talent, of people who have faith and hope, of caring communities, and of ordinary people who, through everyday acts of generosity and care, bring about the extraordinary. Research indicates that individuals are more resilient against gangsterism and crime when they feel a deep sense of belonging, purpose, and identity. That is what we wish to provide through our programs, to build confident and resilient communities, one maths empowered child at a time. Now, Judy-Ann will take over and tell you more how we start this process.
Thank you, Sonia. Sonia is our managing director. We forgot to add that. And I'm Judy-Ann. I'm the communications manager at MathMoms. So Sonia referred to the search for belonging, purpose, and identity. And if you think about those words and you look at the quotes on the screen, these words were spoken to Sonia by a 12-year-old boy in one of our schools, one of our partnering schools in Elsie's River. When I hold a gun, I don't feel so powerless. I feel respected, like I am somebody. The search for belonging, purpose, and identity led this boy to join a gang, like it does so many other children, and children from a very young age. And we see this search for identity, this sense of powerlessness, of being invisible and unheard in our programs, in both the adults and the children, express the sense of powerlessness. The adults in the program express hopelessness about their future. The youth don't see opportunities. They don't see economic opportunities. They don't see employment opportunities. There's the constant threat of violence from gangsterism, but also as a result of living in poverty. And it makes it hard for them to see a way forward. But there are also so many people who are really hungry for change, and change that needs to be structural, of course, but also personal and holistic individual change. And at MathMoms, we believe that you cannot teach the mind before you reach the heart. So why is our program, like Sonia said, trauma-informed? We believe that educational interventions can only be sustainable if they address individual and community trauma, both in the learners and in caregivers and in educators. So why is addressing trauma so important? I first want to explain what we understand by trauma. So all of us experience traumatic events in our lives. It may be a chronic illness, it may be an operation, it may be a robbery in our home, or a car accident, or just the trauma that results from living under constant stress and exhaustion. But that a traumatic event is not yet trauma. You are not yet traumatized. Not everyone who experiences a traumatic event sits with trauma afterwards. So trauma is what stays in your body, what stays in your nervous system, and what stays in your heart and mind after the event. If you are not able to process that, if your nervous system is not able to regulate what happened to you. And we can discuss that at more length in a Q&A session. But unaddressed trauma, whatever the cause, whatever shape it takes, can negatively impact all aspects of our lives. It impacts our ability to connect to other people and to form healthy and stable relationships. It impacts our ability to participate in our communities, our sense of self-worth and our confidence, our health, both psychological and physical, and also our cognitive capacity. And by that, I mean, trauma can make it harder for us to learn, harder for us to retain or remember information, to develop skills, or to recognize opportunities or connections in our mind, or to solve problems. So trauma really blocks connection and growth on so many levels, and it disconnects us from others. And most importantly, trauma disconnects us from our true selves. So a person sitting with unaddressed trauma is a person in search of identity. And I don't want to place too much emphasis on the negatives that people experience in the communities where we face. But like Sonia said, the effect of gangsterism, the effect of substance abuse, the long-term effect of living in poverty really results in traumatized individuals and communities. So it is widely recognized that children cannot learn on an empty stomach, but we are not as quick to recognize that, or to become aware of the ways in which unaddressed trauma can also impede learning in children of all ages. So children, and this of course counts for adults as well, may be frozen in trauma, or they may act out in the classroom in certain ways, fighting with the teacher, being disruptive, and be labeled as a naughty child or a hopeless case, when in fact they're merely sitting with unaddressed trauma. So what we want to do at MathMoms is to give each person in our program, adults and children, the opportunity to either address and transform their trauma, which is what we do with the adults, or to provide them with support to regulate their nervous systems, which we do with the kids, so that they can truly flourish. And the first way in which we do that, and Barbara, our colleague, will elaborate on that in a moment, is by providing both adults and children in the program with empathetic witnesses, with a support network within which they can find their identity, and within which they can grow and connect. We believe that, that every human being is born with the innate capacity to triumph over their trauma, and that the healing process can be a real catalyst for powerful awakening and self-discovery. So we therefore aim to nurture resilience in individuals and in communities by establishing safe spaces, which we call our triangles of trust. So the sides of our triangle, and this is the basis upon which our program is built, the sides of our triangle are relationship building, skills transfer, and nurturing love. Within this triangle, adults and children come to gain skills while forming safe and supportive relationships across generations. And this triangle is built on our understanding of nurturing love or motherly love, because we used to work primarily with moms, as everyday acts of attention and care that everyone can perform. Our understanding of the impact of trauma and of the importance of relationships and nurturing love is informed by attachment theory, which was developed by John Bowlby and Mary Ainsworth. So attachment is one of our first lessons in the home. How we attach as babies and as young children to our mothers or caregivers has a profound impact on our future attachments, whether that be romantic, friendship relationships, work relationships, any kind of relationship throughout our childhood and our adult lives, but also our ability to deal with uncertainties, to face challenges, to recognize opportunities, and to positively connect with people and things in the world. And trauma in caregivers can block attachment, which leads to trauma in children, a kind of generational trauma. And this cycle is very hard, but not impossible to break out of. So through our program, we want to ensure that each child in the community, hopefully one day, each child in the community is able to form a positive attachment with caring adults in their communities. And it's important not only to have a caring mother or father or caregiver, but also for other people in the community to recognize and care for the children in their community. To do that, we provide participants in the program, the adult participants, with tools and knowledge and support to start them on their path to healing. So the forms of trauma support that we rely on, all our moms undergo 6 weeks of TRE, or trauma and tension releasing exercises, which is a form, embodied form of trauma support developed by Dr. David Bichelli. And our current cohort of moms finished their TRE last week, and it was completely transformative. And this ensures that they are emotionally grounded before they engage with learners, that they are able to self-regulate, so that learners feel safe with them, so that learners feel calm with them. At the start of this year, our mentors, who you will learn about in a moment, were also trained in somatic experiencing, another body-oriented therapeutic model developed by Dr. Peter Levine, which includes exercises that we are now able to incorporate into our training and our activities with learners. We've also done some forest bathing. I see Karika is here. She did forest bathing with us, which is a form of nature therapy with our interns. And we also incorporate breath work and mindfulness exercises into our training, into our lessons with learners, to help them really regulate and feel secure in our teaching spaces. So if you are familiar with any of these practices, we're happy to answer questions about them in a moment. But our goal is to really provide people with lifelong tools for self-regulation, stress management, and trauma transformation, especially given the inaccessibility of mental health care and traditional forms of therapy in many, if not most, South African communities. And we have really seen the difference that our trauma-informed approach makes in the lives of the math moms, in their sense of self-worth, in their confidence in themselves and their confidence in their futures, in their relationships at home with their husbands or partners or children or parents, and in the workplace, and in the sense of security and love that learners experience when they are with the moms. The moms really become lighthouses in the schools and in the communities. They become people who the learners want to be with. The kids even come for maths lessons over holidays and weekends sometimes. So the children really have that sense of safety with the moms. And when the moms report back at the end of the year, they speak of getting to know themselves, of discovering new things of themselves, of really discovering their identities. But identity goes hand in hand with a sense of belonging to a group and also with a sense of purpose. And I now hand over to Barbara Leroux, one of our directors and mentors, and she will tell you about the practicalities of our program and how that nurtures belonging and purpose. Thanks. Barbara, you're muted.
Good afternoon, all. As I've been introduced, I'm Barbara Leroux, and I'm a retired teacher. After 40 years of teaching, I decided to hang up my boots, and now I am a Math Mom mentor and also director of MathMoms. Now, in the 6 years that I've been a mentor, I've seen how our approach can bring meaningful change, not only to the individuals, but also to those in the communities. Now, as you can see on the screen, we work in 26 schools situated in the urban and also in the rural areas. By extending a hand of partnership to schools, the local leaders, the religious and other organizations, a network of care is built within and across the communities. Now, Judy Ann has spoken how transforming trauma approach helps people reconnect with themselves, but it is also important to connect with those around you. So through the MathMom structures of belonging around vulnerable about vulnerable learners, and a network of support around adults are created. And in this, learners and adults can learn, grow, and flourish. And how do we do this? Now, our approach is very simple. We partner with primary schools, and each school has one mentor overseeing 7 to 8 math moms. And each math mom sees 4 learners, that's 2 at a time, and at least 4 learners at home after school hours. Now, to unpack this structure, is at school we have a designated math mom classroom where the foundation phase learners, that's the grade 2 and the grade 3s, interact with the math mom. By giving individual attention to the learner, a strong bond of trust is formed between the learner and the math mom. The mentor and the math mom must also connect, and by doing so, a sense of belonging for both learner, math mom, and the mentor is formed. Now, the mentors are truly the backbone of the organization. As retired teachers, they bring with them a wealth of experience and wisdom gained over decades of teaching. By being part of the program means they can continue to live and perhaps rediscover their purpose, while the expertise does not go to waste upon retirement. Now, the mentors also know the community in which they work. Either they have lived there or they taught there before their retirement. For me, this is very important because I believe it sets out us aside from other maths tutoring programs. Now, as a mentor, because I've worked in the community, I understand the challenges that my community faces daily, and I can also relate to their lives. All the mentors are trusted and loved in the community, which means the Math Mom as an organization also gains trust through being responsive to the needs of each particular community. Now, we as the mentors, we play a dual role. We are responsible for training and monitoring, and we work out the lesson plans for the learners. And these lesson plans are then given to the math moms, and they then provide those lessons to the learners. The mentor is in the classroom, and she monitors and assists where necessary. This ensures a high quality of teaching, and the teaching does not go one way because the mums also bring their ideas to the table, and so we learn from the mums too. The second role we play is to be role models to the mums and to give emotional support. By working in small groups, we are able to form relationships of trust. I want the adults and the learners in my classroom to know that they always have a safety net whenever they face difficulties. Now, while we talk about math moms, the adults in our programs are not only mothers. We believe that anybody can embody the kind of nurturing love that is often associated with moms. In the past, we only focused to bring unemployed mothers into our program, but now we have youth, men and women in our program. The moms receive holistic training, not only in mathematics and learning how to tutor mathematics, but also in life skills training on child development, understanding children psychologically, and also financial training. The intention of the program is to provide temporary employment and they receive a stipend for their work alongside training so they gain experience and skills that will enable them to find work after they have left the program or to go and study further. Now, what have we achieved so far with this program? From our 2021 group, one MathMom established her own NGO to provide food for the community, and 3 others are in the progress of registering their NGOs. The one is a 2 reading programs and 1 ECD. One of them is Hillary on the left of our screen, who opened her own ECD center at Uitzig Primary. Now 4 participants completed their matric or improved their result. 24 enrolled for tertiary study and many enrolled for short courses like counseling, ECD, and computer studies. And 9 found permanent employment. Many became involved in their communities and at schools, example, becoming members of a school board. Of the 40 MathMom interns, 38 progressed to study or to work. Of those that went on to work or study, many remained in the education sector, working as teachers, assistants at schools, or studying towards a degree in education. And I will tell you that they discovered their love for teaching and children through the program, finding their purpose through MathMoms. In this way, we also invested in the future educators of our communities. But what do we as MathMoms do in the program? The MathMoms duties are: they support the grade 2 and the grade 3 learners at school by providing math lessons to 2 learners at a time. We teach mathematics through play, using our own course material appropriate to each grade and focusing on cementing learners' understanding of basic mathematical concepts, and through games, making math accessible and its relevance in our daily lives clear. The individual attention learners receive helps to build a relationship with a mom, ensuring that they have a connection with a safe, reliable adult. Our goal is not only to improve the academic results of learners, which help them to build their skills and will ensure better opportunities, but also to provide each learner with a sense of belonging and connection. And we place the learner in the ICU, in the intensive care. It's ICU, we give each learner individual attention. The moms also have to open their homes to learners in the afternoons to do paired reading and extra math exercises. And this helps, and also to help with their homework. They have to see at least 4, but sometimes some see up to 15 kids every day. Having structures in place become extra valuable, especially during lockdown, when we were able to continue supporting learners even while the schools were closed. Learners know that they always have a safe place where they can go to in the afternoons. We can now see how relationships building and skills development go hand in hand to create the structures of belonging we spoke of. Another example of how we do this, we also have more mentors to the MathMoms, and we hold training sessions at schools for the grade 4's parents. As part of our positive parenting program, one of our organizational goals is to improve parental involvement at schools and to encourage parents to play a more active role in the child's education. And in our parenting programs, parents are given resources and skills that will help their child at home academically. We encourage parents to use what they have at home to become creatively involved in the lives of their children, knowing that teaching aids such as private tutoring, computers and apps, etc., are not accessible to everyone, nor are they necessary. By playing on the number line, creatively using and repurposing what we have been able to nurture a relationship and improve academic results. Some of you may be thinking back of your own history with maths and wonder how this school subject can nurture relationships. Why are we math mums? Our friend Agatha, a stellenbosch from Stellenbosch University and a maths curriculum expert, will answer that question. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Agatha, and I'm a foundation phase maths education lecturer at Stellenbosch University, and I support the moms or the organization in focusing on the subject maths. Now, I think the really cool thing for me about the mathematics and the moms is that we literally strip away the power that maths has, and we kind of say to the subject mathematics, we're not going to be scared of you, we're not traumatized by you, and we take that power from the mathematics, from that subject, and embody it within the moms, and therefore allowing the children to embody that sense of power as well. Because I think we know that maths has the ability, it's the one subject that has the ability to almost set your economical pathway. And so what we're doing is we're saying, we can do it. And so it's moving to a center and creating a sense of agency, I think, within the moms, within the schools, because it spills over into the classrooms, into the playground as well. And so we're creating a space, a safe space where children learn mathematics differently in a different kind of environment. We never, we're always talking about the fact that math scares. We're terrified of maths, therefore we can't do it. It's a subject we don't like. I can't do it. My mom at home says she doesn't like it. And so we're trying to break that cycle. And where children in a very safe space with moms who are confident and competent in the subject. And these children come to learn to love maths, and they just leave far more empowered when they go into the classroom and sitting with their other classroom mates back in their desk. And so I think it's a bit weird, but to use maths as a subject of self-discovery. So you discover yourself as a mathematician, that you can actually think of yourself as a mathematician now, that I can do the subject. It makes sense. So on that pathway of learning to become confident and actually understanding sometimes for the first time the connections between concepts. And it's almost like, no, why didn't they explain this to me when I was in school? And so for the first time, the moms, this light bulb goes off. They understand the struggle, which means that they're able to support and tutor a child in a safe space. I think, Judy Ann,
sorry, Agatha, I asked that we see whether we can focus on the faces, and that's why I asked Judy Ann to stop showing the screen, but did you want the screen back?
Okay, now I can talk without the screen, it's fine. Okay, so it's also
can I say to you that your face and your smile is so much more attractive than the screen, so we'd rather have you this way.
Thank you. So So what the moms do is they change the, I suppose, the position of mathematics. They begin to own that process of learning, of understanding, of sense making. And there's also the understanding that it's okay to struggle. Actually, in maths, it's really cool to struggle because it's in the struggling that you learn to figure out, but what do I know? How can I use what I know to make sense of this new situation that I'm not quite sure of? I don't know the answer, but I will get there. So in that moment when I struggle, what kind of questions can I ask for help to make sense for someone to help me? But to learn to be able to ask the correct question. And I think for children to learn how to struggle and to get out of that struggle, I think that problem-solving process is key, because that becomes kind of lifelong skills that you can then take outside of the classroom space. And I think that's important in communities where the maths results are not good. Let's be honest, okay? Our children have lost a huge amount of learning time with the rotational system. And so how do you have a sense of power and agency when I'm struggling? And I think that for me is the power of the subject in the hands of the moms. So, and also the very simplicity of the way the maths is introduced. And Barbara was saying that we do it through play, through easily accessible resources. And I think that is key, that you do not need fancy equipment in order to teach high-level mathematics. So the maths is accessible, which I think is important. So the mums, and I remember one time doing a workshop with the mums, and there we were in the, so the space in which we work is a mosque in Elsie's River. Now, I think it's amazing to learn maths in the mosque. I think it's like, you know, this doesn't happen anywhere. And so one of the moms, I think I was doing fractions, and the moms, the level of the questions, because they were not restricted by curriculum demands, okay? They weren't held back by this theorist and that theorist. They just want to understand this fractions. Hoe werk hierdie ding nou? And so the level of the questions, that because they were open to learn. And I think that kind of sense of opening and saying, let me just try to understand this. And then once understanding happens and there's a sense of ownership, the way that they're able to transfer that learning. And I've seen them in spaces of working with children where I remember this one little boy, and he was counting, and he was at the level where he was only counting in ones. And now counting in ones ain't gonna help you much, especially when you get into multiplication in grade 2. And what the mom said to him was, kyk, as jy nou gaan tel, gaan ons nou hier sit tot môre toe. So we're gonna be here till tomorrow. Now, do you think that you can count a little faster, count in groups, and what would you choose to do? And he was like, I'm going to count in 2s. Kan ek het probeer? And mom said, yes, try it. And there he was counting in 2s, and he said, maar dit gaan ook lang vat. Now can I try something else? And it's that safeness with a mom to be able to say, you taught me this. I'm going to bring all the teaching together into one space to solve this particular problem. And the moms have the ability to be able to push the children, to challenge the children in a safe space without the child feeling anxious and that I can't do it. And we know that with maths trauma, maths anxiety, it can result in a physical reaction. And you hold on to that feeling for quite a long time. And once you lose a child at the age of 9, especially a girl child, to fear of maths, it's very, very, very hard to take them back and to change that. And in the communities where the moms work and find themselves, I think to take a subject like maths and to own it, and to say that I can, and why not? And this is a cool subject. And I think at the end of the day, for the moms to be able to share with the children the beauty of the subject, of that particular discipline, I think is huge. And I think that's what the moms do to the mathematics. Thanks. Okay, so I'm going to pass on to my colleague, to Zandile. Zandile, I'm going to hand over to you.
And Sandile asked me just to quickly share something with you again.
Okay, okay.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us. And I think, you know, all of my colleagues that have already shared make me feel like, oh my word, I'm so emotional right now. Sometimes it's like you hear the stories for the first time, even though you're working with the same groups. It's just sometimes the context at which we are engaging about the same experiences changes every time. So quickly about myself, I think I'm an entrepreneur by training and a banker as well. And I'm with MathMoms board. So what actually I'm going to cover really is about how we create, or how I've seen the engagement with MathMom create an end-to-end tool that touches the children right through to the families at which everybody actually goes to at the end of the day. And I personally think the true value of what we are sitting with now is that we're not creating leaders of today. It's a true reflection of how you create a leader of the future. And I think just to give you a straightforward description is that some of these math moms that we've been talking about since the beginning, some of them have infants, some of them are pregnant. So you can imagine when the transformation takes place now to a person that's going through that kind of systematic parenting exposure and a lot of development, what is that mom going to do? And what is that mom going to share from a development or to develop her own children going forward? If a mom has grown up in the same community, how is the mom seeing the community now that they've gone through the process? So I've done a little bit of gathering of some of the information. Obviously, you know that when it comes to employment, everyone has got their own research, and the stats, depending on how you look at it, becomes much higher than that. And it goes up to 67% in terms of youth here in the Western Cape. But the social ills in these communities are not, so drug addiction, alcohol addiction, and neglect, and incomplete education or dropping out is not only caused by the environment. There's parents in these environments that are employed, but many of them struggle to fulfill the needs for their families. And many of those needs are drawn and stretched because of inability to stretch the amount of money that they're earning. And because of those things, they end up becoming the situation that we are facing now. And coming from the township myself, the rate of poverty doesn't increase because there's not enough, food going around. There's not enough of what we've been able to gather stretched across all segments of where we are. So once the development has taken place, people move out of those communities and they don't go back. What becomes a problem is that people don't see inspiration visually. People don't engage with the inspiration visually. So from a community development, mothers in the schools start being engaged with what is happening within their communities practically, so that as they are engaging with the change that is going on that my colleagues have already spoken about, they go back and interact with the communities immediately. So they add value in their communities immediately, and immediate value add, obviously, once they see all of that happening, they can also start seeing their own self-worth, and they start understanding what value they actually create in their own communities. Furthermore, is that as the children are growing, they move from different grades and they come and engage about how they've changed their lives, or how they've improved in their marks, as well as how the teachers have now received them in terms of their subjects and so forth. But when it comes to youth development and engaging with skills, it's important to understand that everything works hand in hand. And I think personally, what I've found to have engaged with the group of MathMoms is that they are people that have engaged with a lot in their lives, but all these things seem to have suppressed their knowledge to a certain extent, or maybe suppressed their ability to a certain extent. And once you start engaging them about their thoughts, their ideas, and all of those skills start cropping out. And I think Barbara also mentioned right at the beginning, as you engage with them, they start realizing their joy, their power, their intelligence. And then all of that goes back to the communities. Hence, you are able to find them starting their own EDC centers, starting their own small businesses, starting their own, or maybe getting into the education space themselves, is that they start realizing how much adding value to the community would actually impact them personally, but the rest of the community that which they engage in. And as well as if you see how the development that they go through then adds into the education system, it becomes this big ball of ecosystem that is full of people that have practical knowledge of how to develop not their own skills alone, but the skills of the children that which they are raising, the skills of the children that which they are exposed to, and the skills of the communities that they are working with. So some of the skills that we've already done with them includes a lot of self-discovery. So interpersonal skills and organizational skills, and obviously financial management in the sense that some of these things that they're exposed to need to be so practical that they can add practical change in terms of what they are exposed to, but also in terms of what they intend to do with their lives going forward. So so that we remove all possible obstacles that they could possibly create as a means of wanting to slow down their progress. Because obviously, having touched a child, you need to almost become the inspiration. And sometimes these moms forget that they are that child's inspiration from day one, and they need people like us as mentors to constantly remind them that you've started this and you are in it now, and this is how you're going to continue to show the community that you are working with and the community that you live in that you have gone through this process and that you have been preparing to one day see a better future, not only for yourself, but also for your children, as so as to plant the seeds in the communities so that we can find true inspiration that comes from those specific communities, so that inspiration does not come via social media. It's an idea or someone that seems to have known what happened when they, or what someone that knew how their communities were affected by certain things. It must be moms that can tell their stories about how they've changed their lives in a holistic way, where they can say, this is how I've decided to raise my children, because I started not only focusing on myself, but focusing on the community. And I started that by joining MathMoms. I was pregnant at the time, and my child is now 5 years. They've gone through primary school, high school, and this is how I've saved money to be able to help them through school. This is how I've helped my family to save the little that we were getting and prevent the rest of my family from being exposed to what is happening in our community from a social ills point of view. So if this ball does not have an end-to-end, then it becomes a systematic problem. And so again, in this group, as much as you find entrepreneurs, you find talent, people that are very crafty, very creative, that which we plan to expose to support organizations that can help them to develop some of those skills. So there's opportunities constantly to engage them about what their plans are. And some of these training courses help them see opportunities that are outside the general organizations where they sometimes assume they can only work. So now they know that they can also work in other areas, like in the financial space or in banking and so forth. Something else that we've seen is that once they start engaging with content or that has got a level of complexity, their marks are very high. So they achieve very high marks. So 70%, 80% is generally how they achieve. So it shows that once you take away the feeling of suppression, which I mean, it's been spoken about throughout, they start really showing their true character. They show their power, they remove their vulnerability, they start being comfortable with what they don't know. They are open about their development, and they really give their all. So in spite of what is happening in their communities, they sit up all night to complete assignments just so they can ensure that all of their work is in place and it's high standard. So I think from an unlocking of true potential, this what MathMoms stand for is really has really built a full ecosystem of how generational development takes place. Children that are being engaged with maths, which generally is known as a complex subject that not everyone would be able to understand. Now suddenly they feel that it's a subject that is also at reach to them. And then their sisters and brothers and mothers and grandmothers that go through a process of understanding themselves and developing their full potential. And they go back to plant the same seeds in their own communities at their own leisure, without necessarily being forced to engage their communities. And the value that they add systematically really just describes the honor and the privilege that sits in being part of such an organization. From my perspective, it's wonderful, and it's extremely emotional to see how people that come from those type of environments can truly flourish and show themselves as beautiful butterflies.
Okay. Thank you, Zandile. So Zandile and Agatha serve on our advisory board, and Agatha, like she said, is involved in the training of the moms to ensure that our teaching is really of a high academic standard. And she's worked with the kids as well. And Zandile 2 weeks ago presented a course on financial management to all our moms, which, I mean, they all have an intellectual crush on her now. They just want to be like her. So she's really been an inspiration. So that's MathMoms. That's an overview of how the program works, why we do it the way that we do, and how we try to support both the adults and the kids in our program. Does anyone have questions? I see in the chat there are some people who'd like to get involved, and Karine Visa, who's also on our advisory board, shared her email address there, so you can just contact her and she will delegate.
So Judy, I want to say from someone who's not part of MathMoms, but love the work that you do, that I don't know whether people have really got a sense of these mothers. So I want to just share my perspective of what I've seen over the last few years. So these mothers are, many of them, mums who didn't have dreams for their lives, didn't have dreams for their children, didn't have dreams for themselves. And then they get invited to become part of this community where they are loved in the most respectful and empowering way that people can be loved. So Sonia, I'm telling a story about what you're doing. You need to tell me whether I'm, wrong or right. And so suddenly they start to sparkle. It's like literally you see them go from being, kind of hidden. Someone said, I think there was a kind of, they're hidden, their lights are hidden. And then that gets removed, that layer gets removed and they start to sparkle. And not only do they sparkle as mothers, they sparkle as citizens, as leaders, and I don't know, we don't have enough of them on this call, but they literally blow you away with their willingness. And Zandile is shaking her head. Zandile has seen this. They blow you away with their kind of willingness to just go and completely change the narrative of their lives. So no longer are they a mother who, may not have passed matric themselves or whatever the story is. They are a math mum. And so I just always think, I'm so sorry Professor Janssen couldn't join us today, but I've heard him talk so many times about this program, and he's blown away by what you guys are doing. So I really just want everybody to kind of really get that sense of this is amazing. This is the kind of work that this country needs so much more of. Yeah. So sorry, that wasn't planned. It was I couldn't help but have to say that.
Barbara referred to Hillary, who was one of our moms, and every time I think about her, I just want to cry, precisely for this. So Hillary didn't finish school, didn't have a job, all of these things, and she went through the MathMoms program and on her own. So that's the inspiring thing, is not what they do in the program, but what they then out of their own initiative go on to do. She went and she did an ECD course, and she went to her school, her closest school, with a business plan and said to them, I want to open an ECD center. Here's my business plan. And within 3 days, she had an ECD center with 20 kids enrolled in that. So really that, and she would say that it's the confidence that she gained, but really it's not, that MathMoms is handing out talent, is handing out opportunity. MathMoms is giving a space in which people who are talented can create opportunities, and that's really inspiring. Jade, I see you have your hands raised.
Yes, thank you. I think just off the bat, wow. Yes, to all of you MathMoms and just, everybody involved in this. It's really, really phenomenal what you're doing. I love how identity is a focus. Anyway, I can go on and on about that, but let me keep my question specific. Just, thank you for all that you're doing. Pretty much, I don't know how I found out about this. I work for an organization who are very passionate about maths, and I noticed today that this is focused on foundation phase. My question is, are you doing anything in the high school space? Do you plan to, or what is your view on the high school kind of learners, please?
I think I will answer, and then maybe Agatha, you can also chip in. So no, we're not doing anything in the high school space, or I think planning on. Our focus is very much on the foundation phase. Our reason for doing that, and Agatha, you can weigh in, is that research shows that if kids aren't, in terms of literacy and numeracy, if they aren't where they should be by grade 4, then it's very hard for them to catch up. So we really want to get the young kids. And also, if we think about our other aim of nurturing resilience which includes resilience against gangsterism and organized crime in the specific communities where we work. Those kids are groomed from the ages 8, 9, 10. Those are the ages that the gangsters are targeting the kids. So we want to get them before they go into that life. Agatha, do you want to add anything?
Sonia, do you remember we've always had the conversation about also grade 4? I mean, there's the intermediate phase as well. And that's a hard one because of that gap, or the gap between grade 3 and grade 4. But we've noticed in the areas that we work in, I think if we can get the foundational sort of number concept done quite thoroughly, because it's the gaps in the foundation phase that allow children. So for example, if I use the counting, we're finding that our children have very low ways of counting, which impacts on their ability to calculate. And so as the numbers get bigger, they don't have the skill to be able to manage and manipulate those bigger numbers. And so what we're trying to do is ensure that the foundational skills are there, so that as they cross that bridge from grade 3 to grade 4, that they're able to cope and manipulate the numbers. And if you think about a mom, a maths mom, there's a sense of that you work with younger children. I think you change how you become a mom as you work with older kids. And I think the way that we've defined the moms is related to the phase within which we work. And that makes sense for us. So we're quite happy. At the phase in which we work. Yeah.
Thank you both.
There's a hand up, Judy
Yeah,
and Reva.
there's a question in the chat which we'll get to, but Reva, you had your hand up.
Yes, thank you. I see a lot of talk was about the grade 2, grade 3, and then you speak foundation phase. Do you actually start this program then in grade R and even grade 1, or do you just focus on grade 2 and 3?
Reva, we focus on grade 2 because in a sense a grade 1 child bond with his teacher, and because many of them weren't in grade R. So it's the first year at school. We don't want that many changes. So that's why we only take them in grade 2. And then we build a relationship through to grade 3, and we invite the parents in grade 4 and give them a textbook that they can work with their children at home. And then in grade 5 and 6, we also help the teachers with textbooks and extra work. I see how is this received by the teachers who may not be very confident themselves. I was at schools this day, and at 2 of the schools, the principal came to me, "Oh, please come, your mentors must come and help us. We have systemic tests on the 18th of October. How can you help us?" So it's in a sense giving the teachers someone they can trust, someone that help them, because the mentors are retired teachers. Yes. And that's one of the structures we want to build, the relationship with the teacher, to give them confidence and that they know, yes, there are people who will back me up. So that is, I was so amazed today when I came into the school. You must help us. The mentors must come and help us. So it's about relationship building in the community.
I see there's another question by Gillian. Are we working in schools, or are we empowering mothers to help where they are? So we do both. So the moms or the youth in our program, they work in schools where they have a classroom, and learners are extracted 2 at a time for each mom, and they have 1 or 2 lessons a week. Sonia, you'll have to. So they work with 4 kids per week in the school, And then in the afternoons, they're also required to work in their homes, or if their home situation is such that they don't have space, some of the schools have made classrooms available. But the idea is that they work in the school for that support of the teacher, for the support of the learners in the school, and to build a relationship with the school, but also that kids know in the afternoons there is a home that they can go to if perhaps their parents are at work or if they need help with homework. So we have a looser academic structure in the afternoons. They do paid reading, they do some exercises, but whatever homework the child has, they go to. And they really show up on Sundays, they show up over holidays, they show up when it's when the sun is shining or when it's raining, saying, asking their math mom, please can we play some math games. Moira asked, how do we finance the stipends? That's a challenge. So we, at this stage, so we look for donors and grants to finance that. In the past, we've been funded by the D.G. Murray Trust and Alan and Jill Gray Foundation. Currently, we're funded by the local government as part of their youth development program, and the Resilience Fund, which is an international fund, and a lot of individuals who are very generous with their time and expertise and money and all kinds of donations that support us. Valerie, working in schools every day from Monday to Friday. Sonia, do you want to answer that?
We work in the schools on Tuesday, we do the training, and on Wednesdays, the grade 2s or the grade 3s, and Thursdays, the grade 2 or the grade 3. So we are in school 3 days a week, and then every afternoon they work with the learners at home. Yeah. I see in a country where unemployment is real, how do you deal with the reality that what you are doing could provide an income to the youth? Last year we had 40 interns, youth in our program. 38 of them find a job or went on to study. So we are, in a sense, a stepping stone to a better future. We focus to help them create a future for themselves as well. It's not, it seems as if it's about the maths, but in a sense, it's about building a relationship with themselves, with the people around them, with the community, but also get excited to know I have a future.
I also want to clarify that, so when someone joins the program, they are unemployed, and through joining the program, they are paid and they receive the training which betters their chance of employment. So it's not a volunteer position. It is something that they do get an income from.
But I can tell you, 1 year we didn't have stipends for the mums. We had 38 or 48 mums, and they work without payment or without a stipend for the whole year because of what they've received and the gift they could give to their community. At the end of the year, someone surprised us and we could give them a marvelous Christmas present. But the only one left the program that whole year, and they knew we didn't have money. So it's not only about money. It's about community building, about what they gain themselves.
So Sonia, I'm unfortunately going to have to be the bearer of bad news because we've only got 5 minutes left, and I'm sure everybody would agree that they can stay, the whole day. So what's going to happen next? We will send you the link to this recording if you've registered on Zoom, which I'm assuming that you all have. And then you will be able, we'll also add, so Sonia will tell me who the right person is from the MathMoms community that we'll send their email address that you can talk to them directly, or Julie Ann, if you want to put an email address in the chat now. And yeah, I want us to just use these next 5 minutes with words of appreciation. And I'm going to ask anybody who want to just share with Sonia and Judy Ann and Zandile and all these amazing women, something that you were touched by when you heard the stories. This is an opportunity. We said we wanted to be enchanted. So if you were enchanted this afternoon, please share your thoughts. Riva, we'll start with you, and we're going to give a few people a chance to just share their words of appreciation. Riva.
Yeah, I think immediately, the passion. I see passion. Yeah, everybody seems very passionate about what they're doing, and that just speaks to me. It's not a job. It's a calling in a sense, and I love that word. So everything you do is from your heart, which means you give 110%. And I also like that you're engaging the communities. So many times teachers, you want to go in and just deal with the child, and we see the child as this isolated vessel, but they belong to a community. And I'm glad to see that you're engaging with the community. And there's nothing better than the love of a mother. And the mother doesn't have to be the mother. It's anybody that just loves them. And I even love the title, because I remember even as teaching, and they'll sometimes call me mom in class. It's because they had a relationship and they could feel safe, and that's what it's about. And you could see them progress with that. And so yeah, I'm very enthusiastic. I'm very pleased with what I've heard, and everybody is speaking with such love, and that to me is great. So yeah, I want to say well done and thank you for taking the time to share with us.
Fantastic. Thank you, Riva. Anybody else want to share their appreciation? Moira, I see you are unmuted.
Yes, it was just a wonderful presentation. Thank you so very much. The part that struck me particularly was giving meaning to the lives of the retired teachers and digging into that richness so that they can give back. And that's really what I'm all about. And that is the, senior, we accumulate all this experience, and if when you retire it just doesn't get used, it is just like having saved all that money up in a bank, and the time that you're going to cash in, you throw it away. And it's wonderful to me. And if you think of how many hundreds and thousands of teachers there are, retired teachers, if we could put that all together, so bravo. And it's just wonderful. Strength to strength.
Every time I see MathMoms, Moira, I think, how can we spread this into the world? But, this is not necessarily what Sonia wants to do. So there's an invitation to say maybe spreading it into the world is up to other people. Sonia, I see you unmuted. We're going to give you the last word. Let's go to Karika.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to say this was very touching. I think what really has stuck with me is the quote from that 12-year-old boy describing how he feels with a gun in his hands. That really, really touched me here. And it's so wonderful to see all of the various ways in which that sense of powerlessness is being addressed. So I've had the pleasure of working with MathMoms in my capacity as a forest bathing guide. But my day job is that of an economist, and I just also wanted to say that this is such rich work. The capabilities and the human capital that's being built up here is it's astounding. It's been really, really interesting to learn more. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So, Sonia, we will give you, as leader of this organization, the last word and the opportunity to share any, as Julie Moranzella would say, patkos that you want to leave us with.
It's a bit unexpected to give patkos so quickly. I think all of us wants to be valued. All of us wants to be recognized. All of us needs a safe relationship. And if we recognize the person on the street, the woman at the till, the child that runs in front of your car without looking, if we start recognizing people, building relationships with people we don't know, we don't need to worry about South Africa.
Absolutely. And on that note, an invitation to get involved, even if it is to share the story that you heard today with one or two other people and inspire them with this. Thank you, Sonia, Judy Ann, Zandile, just trying to see all the names. We are enchanted with what you're doing, has always been. Agatha, we have always been enchanted by what you're doing, and we will continue to share the story and just appreciate your love and care and your commitment to community and creating communities of belonging for both the mothers and the children and everybody. So thank you very much. We will send you the invitation, the link. We'll also invite you to be part of our database for further conversations. And I hope that this isn't the last one. Oh, I do have to say something. We have a WhatsApp group for this community of leaders. And if anybody wants to join that WhatsApp group, we'll also send you my phone number that I will add you to the WhatsApp group if you send me a message. So thank you so much, everybody. Yes, Sonia.
You are the great enchanter. We thank you.
Mutual appreciation. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a lovely rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye.